unfortunately, this year, both of my cats have passed away. Last week, my cat Lola had passed away, and in February, my cat Spartacus passed away. And what I realised was there's not much about pet bereavement. And I don't know if you're like me, my cats were like a big, big part of my life. So Spartacus was 15 when he passed away, and Lola was 14. We got them a year apart, and my an ex bought me both cats. And when he bought them, he said to me, Sheena, you know what? These cats will change your life. You will absolutely love them. And when he first bought them, I was a little bit skeptical. I was like, it's just a cat, they're just cats. And I couldn't really understand it. But until you get a cat of your own, you never truly know the bond that you are going to have with this little fur ball that's literally going to come into your life and cause absolute chaos. I loved my cats so much. And when when I'll tell you a little bit about their deaths, because still is like really, really heartbreaking, like really traumatic. So Spartacus died in February the 14th, Valentine's Day. And years before him dying, I'd often thought about him dying. Like, he was number one son. He was like my baby boy. Like, he was like such a big character in our lives that anybody that had met him was like, he's the most majestic creature they'd ever met, because he was majestic. He was like a house tiger. He was beautiful. And prior to him dying, I'd often thought about it, and I thought, like, really cried, like cried and cried, thinking about him dying. And I genuinely thought that we'd have a few years more out of him this year. Like, I didn't think it was gonna happen. So what happened was he had a fit, he had a seizure. And so it happened one night on a Thursday night, the day before Valentine's. He came into the front room and basically laid on the floor. And I thought he saw a mouse in the lounge or something. And I could see him on the floor, and he basically looked around the room and yowled. And that's obviously, it was chaos. Like, I started crying, didn't know what to do. It was in the evening, so we phoned an emergency vet to come over. And she said she didn't really say much, she didn't really know much. It was quite stressful, to be honest. Like, she didn't really give us much information. So then I thought, then he came round and everything, and he seemed like he was back to normal. The next day it happened again, and it was just such an emergency. We had to take him to the emergency vet, and basically he had a heart defect. And it all happened so quickly. Like, thinking about it now is making me like well up. And so basically what had happened was, we took him to the emergency vet, and we had to make a decision very, very quickly with what to do with him. And so it was either he was going to have an operation um, that would cost thousands. Luckily, I had pet insurance, but it was going to cost thousands. But his quality of life, would never be the same again. Or we basically put him to sleep. And so we made a decision that day to have him put to sleep. And having to say bye to him so quickly was very traumatic. And I don't think I've ever felt grief like that in my entire life, because I've never had that closeness with, like, a person, a family member, like I had with this cat. He wasn't just a cat, he was my baby boy. Like, he was my like, I loved him so much. I still love him. I think about him every day. And the next day I was like crying and crying and crying in bed all day. And it's kind of like I felt like I lost a big part of my life. Like, he's a huge, huge part of my life. And Lola, my other cat, was never the same since. Like, and then, because the thing is, Spartacus was always the main character of the house. He was the big character of the house. People would always ask how he was. And then Lola was always in the background. And Lola was so beautiful and so timid and so quiet, and just a beautiful, beautiful cat, would never hurt anybody, but absolute savage. If there was any of them was going to bring in an animal like mice or something, it would be Lola. So this was Lola's time to shine, and she really came out of herself. She basically started calling her the landlady, because she was like, she was now the landlady of the house. Like, she was the big character of the house now. But to be honest, she would always go to the spot where Spartacus had his seizure and was never the same since. Like they would both go out in and out the house, and she would go outside and sit outside, and obviously we were spoiling her more and buying her treats and things. And she was the only cat, and she was loving life. But like I said, she was never the same again. So what happened was, like, Lola was never the most athletic cat, but she'd always obviously jump on the furniture, jump on the bed, jump on her cat tree. And all of a sudden, she stopped doing this. And all of a sudden, she stopped going outside. And so then, about a month ago, beginning of July, she was in the front room and stopped moving, like, not moving as much and like really crying. So I took her to my local vet, and my local vet told me that she had a gastric problem because she'd been sick prior to this too. She kept being sick. And so he gave us some Royal Canin and for gastro problems. And I knew that that wasn't the problem. So I took her to another vet. And the other vet said that she had arthritis. So, when you go to the vet and you don't know what they're talking about, because you're put on the spot and it's all very quick, isn't it? And they're trying to get money. And so they said that she needs this shot of Silencia, this medication that's going to help with her arthritis. So we got the shot because they said that it will make her better. And it didn't do anything. In fact, I think it made her worse. So we knew that. So basically, this was going to have to be a monthly shot, a monthly injection. To basically, it was like a painkiller. So we brought her home, and nothing had changed. In fact, it got worse, and it got worse very, very quickly. So bearing in mind, she only had problems with her legs at this point, like running up and down the stairs and jumping on the furniture, so we'd have to lift her onto the furniture. But she started to decline cognitively. So what we realised was that if she couldn't see us, she was crying and crying, and she started living in the bathroom. Bearing in mind, she'd always be all over the house. She started living in the bathroom. And also, Lola would never ever have cuddles, and she started wanting cuddles. So I'd pick her up. One day I picked her up to take up down the stairs. I thought, let me give her a cuddle, and she loved it. And in the 14 years, she never ever ever had a cuddle. And so I started cuddling her more, and she started really really liking it. And every time she couldn't see us, I realised that she was like crying. And then I started to Google cat dementia, and she basically developed symptoms of cat dementia very, very quickly. She was still eating and still going toilet in her litter tray, but whenever she couldn't see us and basically wanted to be in solitude in the bathroom on her own, it was all beginning to be more and more. And so every night when we turned the light off to go to bed, she would cry even more because I think she was confused. And so then we made this decision to have Lola put to sleep. And so this was on the 1st of August, so 12 days ago now. I don't know when I'm going to put this video, but it's the 1st of August we decided to put her to sleep. And it was so traumatic too. It's like she, we took her to the vet, and I think she knew that her time was up, but saying goodbye to Lola is just a big, like, hole in my life, like a big hole that I don't think ever gets spoken about very often. Like, we build these bonds with these little furry animals that come into our lives, and they mean more to us than a lot of humans do. Like, my cats have been in my life for like 14, 15 years, and during my most loneliest times had always been there. And during the day, you know they're always company, someone to talk to, someone to have a cuddle with, someone to laugh at. They do silly things, and that bond we have with our pets is nothing like a bond that you would have with human beings. And when they're gone, it does leave a massive hole in your life, and trying to deal with that every day, I don't know if I feel silly, by still grieving, whether I should get over it. But I don't think I should, because it's a big, big change in my life. Like, every day I keep thinking that one of them's going to walk into the room. And when they don't, it is really heartbreaking. And I just don't know. It's quite a hard one to deal with. Like I said, I've never had this bond with a human being this close. So when they died, I think a big part of me went with them. And people keep saying, "Oh, why don't you get other cats?" And I'm just, well, I don't want to get other cats right now. I want to sit with how I feel about losing my cats that I have now. Replacing them so soon isn't going to bring them back. I will probably get cats in the future, but it's like you wouldn't get, if a family member died, someone wouldn't say to you, "Oh, why don't you get another one, to replace them?" Because it doesn't work like that, does it? You have to get over the feeling of that loss, if you ever get over that feeling of that loss, because when you've, for a big part of my life, they've been there, being fed in the morning. Oh, the mornings were the hardest, like waking up in the morning and not having to deal with the panic of not, feeding the cats first thing in the morning has been huge because, cats, they're hungry, they wake up starving to death, and not having to deal with that in the morning, or, see them in the morning and spend my, like, I'd always have a coffee with my like, and cuddles with the cats in the morning, and they're not there anymore. So I have my coffees alone now. And that's a big, big change. But eventually I probably will get more pets, but right now, sitting with the grief of losing my pets has been huge, and we need to speak about that more. If you've resonate with this video, I'd really appreciate if you'd like write in the comments below and share your stories of grief, because if you haven't been able to share them with anybody else before, here's your chance. I hope you've been able to resonate this video, and if you've liked it, please like and subscribe.